Hi guys, welcome to ThrustZone.com. This is a very special car. This is the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, and this is now made in India, assembled in India. The kits have been brought in from America, and now they've assembled here. And the prices have come down dramatically. This now retails around 60 lakh rupees on road ex showroom for the Rubicon variant. And I won't discuss much because this is already a car that has been well covered on our website and over the years, because the Wrangler is an iconic name. It's an iconic car. This is how every other off-roader gets their benchmarks from, and what Jeep does off-road and also on-road to a certain extent is what the world takes notice of. The Jeep Wrangler here, in terms of design that we discussed as always in the beginning, remains the same. So you get the 7-slat grille, very large bumpers at the front, which are non-painted, and of course you can remove them as well if you want to go into absolute serious off-roading. This is the side profile of the car, and as we all know, it is the Wrangler design. Everything else is a copy of this, and that's how iconic and how big the Jeep brand is, and the Wrangler in specific as well. Large wheels, large tires. As you can see, there's a little Jeep Easter egg on it, and if you can see the wheel size, it is quite humongous. It's the 17-inch wheel, 255 section, 75 profile, so that's fantastic. The tail lamps again are typical Wrangler. They've been there for a very long time. The design remains the same. That is the fuel lid. This is of course the petrol model, and that's the rear profile of the car, of the SUV. Sorry, this is a full-blown SUV. It's got a cover on it. We've seen some other cars in pictures where there's no cover, but as you can see, the rear camera is now mounted on the spare wheel here, so that looks great. You've got rear parking sensors. That's how the underbody looks like. That's the differential that you saw. Cladding all around, and needless to say, this is an iconic age-old design that is sets benchmarks. Looks great even today. You've got the Jeep Wrangler badging here and the Rubicon stickering here. The bonnet, of course, can be released from there. There's a vent. These are these hooks, and of course Easter eggs everywhere. There's the vent, wipers, and of course the traditional antenna. Stepping inside at the back, it's not going to be easy for your parents or anybody elderly in the family to get in and out of this, so that's out of the question. Getting inside, even for young people like us, takes an extra breath. Good leg room, very good knee room. Of course, headroom is in abundance. You've got vents here, charging points, and these are the power window controls along with charging point here, which is a proper socket mounted and USB mount as well. The reason why windows switches are here, as you know, because these doors come out, and despite that, so do not put any mechanism of electronic of any sort. It's here. There's a grab handle here, height adjustable seat belts. The roof also comes out via these hooks here and here on both sides. There's a net to keep some stuff. It can be a true blue 3-seater at the back, so it's a legitimate 5-seater. Getting down from first floor, that's the usual joke. Going at the back, opening the split tailgate, giving you an idea of what the boot is like with two things kept over there. Because that's the big roll cage, which makes sure that everything is secure and off-roading can be as safe as possible. 12-volt socket. That's the electronic, what do you call the rear defogger. And yeah, this is where you can keep the toolkit, and of course you can remove this and find the jack here. And these, as you can see, it's written on roof and windshield and door hinges, so you can remove this to put it on the door hinge so that you can get a exact map of the screws, so that can be removed. And it's basically to make sure that you have a scale that makes sure that everything fits right after you remove it, such as the doors and etc. 1 of 200 launch edition, because of course this is made in India. And now let's jump on the inside of the car. But as you can see, the hinges look fantastic. That's part of the design language. Red stitching, manual seat height adjuster and lumbar support. That's the mirror and lock unlock button. I really appreciate how Jeep has done these things here, because if you put it in the middle then it becomes too much. If you put it here it also looks weird, but at the same time it still remains very convenient. So I think that's great, and I think that is what you need to do for the American market. Getting inside of the car, let me quickly tell you that the doors are really heavy. So let's start the car. As you can see, the windows are not one touch up, and that is the instrument cluster. Very old school of any American car. It looks fantastic. Reminds me of certain muscle car I drove a couple of years ago. And those are the array of buttons for everything. As you can see, that's the parking, that's auto start stop, traction control, volume, and of course the the AC controls. And this is how you can change the tune for the browser. You can by every click of the dial the song changes on your Bluetooth, so that also is great. You've got a Jeep logo here, manual handbrake, a proper 4x4 selector here, 2 high, 4 auto, neutral, 4 low, and 4 part-time. And these are for the window locks, media connections. That's the off-road plus, that's for the sway bar, and this is for the locking differentials for the front and at the back. You can keep it either way. So since we're done with the off-roading for the day, we've put it in 2 high, and as you can see, everything is seen here. The screen, it works quite well, but it's an extremely age-old unit, and the overall interior as well reminds of a car from a decade ago. But I think it still has its charm, its character, and that's what will appeal to a larger audience that actually buys this car for this specific reason, for the old school charm and of course the endless capabilities off-road of this car. Music system is good. Infotainment system works quite well. It's much better than I expected. It's working better than definitely working better than the Compass that we drove originally, and because it's based on the same idea, that's the reason why. And steering controls for this is for the cruise control, and this is for the track as well as going through the MID here. That's how it starts. I wanted to show you how it starts. It shows the iconic old Jeep, and yeah, you can go through all the settings from here, and then you can go inside as well. So there's a lot to go through. There's a lot of options. As you can see, that's the tire pressure monitoring system. So there is menus within some menus, and that's great. That's the gear shift lever, again also has a Jeep logo on it, which is great. Large armrest, you have a lot of space to keep some stuff here, and you can keep it in 2 parts here. Use the smaller part for some things. Everything feels solid. At the same time, we know everything is detachable as well, as specifically the doors and the roof. But despite that, the car feels extremely solid, and I think that is something very hard to achieve, and I think that's a job done well by Jeep. The AC for our conditions, it's hot in Mumbai right now again, and I think it's not up to the mark, because the ideal blower setting will be 4 or 5, and I think that's quite high because there's a lot of noise from the blower, and it's just about cooling the cabin. So I think the AC could do some with recalibration or with a slightly higher setting. Glove box, it just does the car's work is fine. You're not going to find it useful for yourself. It's just like the door pads. It has nets on it and not proper pockets, so you can put a lot of things in it, but at the same time, a proper usual pad always works better. But I think at the same time, the net allows you to keep a lot of small stuff, which is great. And let me show you a very rifle-like sound for the lock, and the same goes for the doors. Everything feels like a gun on the inside, and you can't doubt about this in this car. And adjustable seat belts, like I told you, adjustable headrests at the back as well, and cup holders here. You can keep something here. This is it, just about it. Steering adjustable is manual. That's the start stop button. That's for the headlight, and for the interior ambient lighting brightness, and the roof light is here as well. The speakers, as always, are mounted on the roof, and like I told you, the sound system is good. And the infotainment system here has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and like I said, it looks dated, but it performs just about alright. And you do need a bit more from your premium car, and that's what is missing with the Wrangler. And now, since we covered most of the part on the inside and the outside, let's talk about how it. So what is this Jeep Wrangler Rubicon like to drive? What we have here is an extremely thirsty petrol engine. This is the 2-liter motor making 280 PS of power and 400 Newton meters of torque. It's mated to an 8-speed gearbox. And how is it in terms of driving? Well, it's an extremely refined motor to begin with. So of course there's hardly any engine noise getting inside the cabin. The road noise, of course, it's there because of the large tires, but it's still well in check. The wind noise also creeps in around 140 kilometers an hour, and I think that's also acceptable for a car with these capabilities. But overall, driving in the city on the highway, it's a pleasant experience. The ride quality, for instance, is fantastic at slow to medium speeds. But as the speeds get higher, body roll increases because that's how the suspension is tuned. It's tuned for low and mid speeds to do really well, and that's where it excels because off-roading is its forte to a very large extent. But at the same time, on the road, it's comfortable enough for the premium price and the premium experience that Jeep is trying to offer with the Wrangler. I think it meets most criteria of any other premium luxury car, and given the fact that it has so many capabilities off-road and on-road, it's fantastic. We did a lot of hardcore off-roading on a particular stretch, but what we were able to film is bare minimum of that. We know for a fact that the off-roading is fantastic on this car. It's got a whole host of features to make sure that it off-roads really well. I showed you all the features earlier in our interior part of the review, where it's got differential lock, it's got a proper low gear ratio box, and which is a manual unit as well. In other cars, of course, we see now everything is done by a button. So Jeep is giving you that hardcore off-road experience, and very hardcore old school off-road experience. So I think that's fantastic that you don't find in premium cars nowadays. You do find that in normal cars, but I think the premium car aspect, is only the Wrangler which can offer you that kind of experience when it comes to off-road. Talking more about the on-road, well, the gearbox is smooth, is seamless, but it's not very quick on upshifts and downshifts, and I think that takes away from the enthusiast riding aspect. But I think it's still acceptable. You don't expect this car to be super sharp or anything like that when it comes to powertrain responses. But what is very impressive and what the enthusiast will also like is the fact that the acceleration, the top speed, and the way it picks up speed is fantastic. It just reaches 140-150 kilometers on an empty stretch of road, and I think that's more than enough for our conditions. And what we also think is that the stability at those speeds is also very impressive. And like I told you, body roll increases quite a lot at higher speeds, but at low speeds it's manageable, but you still do feel the body roll. And this car is all about, again, off-roading and dealing with the bad city road situations. It's got an extremely high water wading capacity, above 700 mm if I'm right, and I think that's a lot considering if you stay in Mumbai, you know for a fact that you can use that once a year. So I think that is also fantastic. That's the whole idea. While on-road refinement is all right, the enthusiast will also be happy with the on-road and definitely extremely happy with the off-road experience. That's what the Jeep Wrangler offers. With so much kit on offer when it comes to off-roading, it is clearly one of the top and the premier when it comes to off-roading. So there's absolutely no denying that. Of course, this car is trail rated. It's a Rubicon variant, so it has been extremely tested to the gills and to make sure that it goes through everything what you can possibly throw at it. It's gone through the worst of terrains while testing. Jeep has let us know that earlier in the past. We've seen it in multiple aspects, and we don't doubt that capability one bit. And that's what the Jeep Wrangler is all about. It's giving you that premium experience on the road. Definitely a lot of experience and a lot of fun off-road, because this thing can do almost anything you ask for it. Everything has been made sure that you get the best possible off-road experience. Like I said in the beginning, fuel efficiency is not its forte, because we've got 6.7 or 7 kilometers to the liter while we were testing it, and I think that's going to be a bit of a cumbersome point in the daily experience of the Wrangler. But I think since most owners are lifestyle oriented owners and they're not going to drive it daily, despite they can, that's not going to be a big problem for the targeted consumer here. What is also not that great is the pedal bite on the brakes. Despite they have a lot of power, the pedal bite is not impressive, and it's very soggy at slow speeds. At high speeds, we wish there was more horsepower, but more power from the performance of the brakes. But then I guess nobody's going to be pushing this off-roady lifestyle vehicle to its peak all the time, nor it's meant for the track. I guess the consumers will have to keep it a little tamed and not drive it completely enthusiastically. What else can we tell you? We told you about the fuel efficiency, we told you about the brakes. The steering, well, that's the third part, which is light. Very nice to be in the city with. It's an effortless car to drive despite the large wheelbase that it has. And but the steering is light, there's hardly any feedback. That makes it again a very lifestyle vehicle that everybody can live with. At the same time, it is very easy to drive. I told you earlier with the pricing. Nevertheless, this is one of the best ladder on frame SUVs we've driven in a very long time. I think it takes me to the time back a long time ago when I was driving one of the best ladder on frame chassis SUVs, that was the Lexus LX and the Toyota Land Cruiser. It reminds me of the time when I drove those SUVs, and I think the Jeep Wrangler here almost, if not surpasses that experience that we've had with those cars. And those cars are much more expensive and much more over the segment of the Jeep Wrangler, with very good ride quality most of the time, with very good stability most of the time, and most importantly, no steering kickback while going over really bad roads, makes the Jeep Wrangler a very good car to live with. Now much lower than the imported version. I think it makes a lot of sense if you are in the market for an SUV which completely stands out on the road, is good on the road, extremely brilliant off the road, and some serious off-road presence. And if you can get in some discounts, then I think this will be one of the best bargains that you can get in the premium luxury SUV space right now. I think that's it. That's our review. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like our video, share it, subscribe to our channel, follow us on our website and social media for everyday updates. I'll see you next time in the next video. Until then, goodbye.